Hello again. There's things that are really getting on my nerves at the moment, but especially today. Not things that have been in the news today, but things that I've only found out really about today. Now, one of them is, on the surface, sounds actually quite a good idea, and there's a lot of merit behind it. And I quite like the person who's made the suggestion or wants to structure this plan. So what is this plan? Well, it's Prince William's plan to, let me get this right, end homelessness in the next 5 years. Now, as I said, I quite like him. I quite like his wife, and his children seem nice. And I think that part of the royal family is quite a positive thing. They're a young, kind of dynamic part of the royal family, excuse me, who I think can actually change the stuffiness and the old-fashioned methods of the royal household for the better. But what he's said, although laudable, also shows how disconnected he is with the real world. Now, we all know there's nothing he can do about who he is. You know, he was born to be king, and he will be at some point. He was born with limitless income, which is fine. And he was born with a lot of privilege, which there's nothing he can do about that, and there's nothing anybody else can do about that, regardless how much certain people may complain about his privilege. But the problem is that he sees a 5-year plan being able to resolve an issue. Now, I didn't plan to say what I'm going to say next, but I've just returned from shopping. And there was a guy homeless on the street. And as I always do, for a reason I will go on to, I dropped him a few quid, because the majority of people just, to quote a song lyric, walk on by. I find that annoying and distasteful, considering the country that we are. We're a very charitable country, and how people can just pass someone whose life has gone and they've ended up living on the streets. So why do I give them money? Well, a long time ago now, 25 years, my life exploded. In one fell swoop, I lost job, health, marriage, family, house, all in one fell swoop. Now, had it not been for the fact that my elderly mother was still alive, I would not have had anywhere to live. I would have ended up back on the street, and ended up on the streets, the same as the guy I saw today. Hence why people need to realise life is a very tenuous thing, and a certain set of circumstances can come around and everything can just disappear. Everything that you've tried to build throughout your life can just go. So where does this take me? Well, this takes me to the point where, this is why I've put in the title, if you are triggered easily, don't watch this video. We're in a situation now where we've got this plan of 5 years. Successive governments have said they're going to tackle the homeless problems and help with building of more hostels and shelters and get more assistance for people who are on the streets and that kind of thing. And successive governments have failed. And one man from the most privileged family in Britain has said that he's going to make it kind of his raison d'etre over the next 5 years to make this happen. So if we look at a situation that hasn't been solved over the last 15, 20 years, let's say, just to be generous. And we're now in a situation where our country is letting in, basically, scum from everywhere because they don't want to be anywhere else. They're coming from lots of sub-Saharan areas, perhaps, getting into continental Europe, and they only have one destination in mind, and that destination is Britain, because they know they can work the system. Now, these are people who are quite able to stop in any safe country anywhere in Europe. Now, as far as I'm aware, there's quite a lot of safe countries. And in fact, the very last country, the country that they exit to get to us, France, as far as I'm aware, is an extremely safe country. Far bigger than Britain, with about the same population as Britain, so far more space for them to be. But not so many giveaways as there are here. Over the last few years, we've seen terrorist attacks and Pakistani rape gangs. Quite a lot of them who have come in here, and they are illegal immigrants, people who have come on maybe a student visa and stayed. The Home Office, being a pointless organisation, haven't tracked them down, haven't got rid of them. They come in here, they abuse our tax laws, they abuse our benefits, they abuse our housing. It's looking as though we're going to have 100,000 of them in this year. I don't want them here. And I would imagine that a large percentage of the population, if asked, would say the same. We don't want people in this country who have no love for this country. We don't want people in this country who may harbour ill will to this country. We don't want people in this country who may well be coming in to bolster up the gangs of abuse gangs here in Britain. We don't want people coming into this country coming from Albania who are known to be dyed-in-the-wool criminals. I don't want these people in this country. For many years we've taken in people who want a better life for decades, from the Windrush all the way through to when the Chinese arrived, to when the Sikhs arrived, and then the early Pakistanis arrived, all of which wanted a better life, a more secure future for their family, a chance to earn a decent living wage. And they came in and they settled. To give you an idea here, my favourite Chinese takeaway is run by a man called Alan. He's Chinese. He came in from Hong Kong. You bet your life his name isn't Alan. But he adopted Alan because it sounded English or British. He wanted to settle here and become part of the community. Can anyone honestly say to me, hand on heart, the countless thousands of people that are coming in on the small boats now that are being brought in and rescued by Border Force and RNLI, a charity, a publicly funded charity, who their only job is to rescue people who have had difficulty at sea due to bad weather or a breakdown on their vessel, not people who have purposefully put themselves in harm's way in a vessel which isn't worthy to cross the busiest sea lane in the world, who should take it as a measured risk that they may well drown and die. And this is where the outrage gets me, when you hear all these bleeding heart left-wing liberals saying what a shame it is when people are turning these boats over and drowning in the in the middle of the channel and need to be rescued. That's their problem. not one of the people from Border Force or RNLI have I heard the question being asked of them, do you not feel any responsibility that you may well be bringing in child abusers or terrorists? In my own city here, the bomb that went off at the Ariana Grande concert years ago was an asylum seeker. He stayed, I think, after his student visa ran out. And if you look through police records and that kind of thing, you will find that so many of these people are immigrants who have no right, they've not had leave to remain, they've just disappeared into the ether. You see them jumping off the boats on beaches and running away and just disappearing because they know they can disappear into the black economy, especially the Albanians. There's so many Albanians running small businesses like hand car washes and that kind of thing, where, you know, why can we not have just people who've had the right to remain given to them? We see all these people coming in and being pushed to the front of the queue for housing. Now, that being the case, how is Prince William and his 5-year plan to stop homelessness going to work? How? How exactly is that going to work, William? It's complete and utter nonsense. It's a dream that he has that he's hoping will put him in the good books of the public. But when we've got thousands of people coming in, you bear in mind, we're only in June. The weather across the channel could be lovely now, all the way through till October, potentially. And we're going to have anywhere between 600 and 1,000 people a day coming across. And all these people will not necessarily be people we want here. The government of the day are not interested. They have now given up. They know that they're going to lose the next election. But the problem is that the only thing that's worse than the Conservatives winning the next election is the Conservatives losing the next election. Because we all know that what will happen is that you've got the left-wing lovies of the Labour Party who will just open up the doors and let in the scum who are coming in, who complain about being put in a 4-star hotel to live, to be given free internet access, to have no bills to pay, to be given free food, a free GP, a free dentist, and spending money every day. These are the people I do not want here, and I feel I'm not alone in this. And I think the government of the day do not want to hear the views of the people of this country. It is time that we as a people said no more. Absolutely no more. Immediately followed by, we round up all the ones who are here and we ship them back to France and dump them on their beaches, because we have paid millions of pounds to France to stop this happening. They're taking the money and laughing all the way to the bank. They're not bothered one iota because they want rid of this scum. Why should they have them in France when they're quite happy to allow them to come to Britain? Why? This needs to end. We need to make it clear that when we see them get onto the beaches, they will be immediately turned round and returned to France, or fired on by a Royal Naval frigate on station, or an RAF helicopter which is armed, something like that, something that will stop them even trying. I do not want these people here. They are not the right people for this country. This country has far too many problems for us to deal with as things are. I see nothing but abuse from these people coming in. I see nothing but terror and crime and everything else negative coming from these people. If you are one of the champagne sipping socialist class who think that all refugees are welcome here, fine, put them in your house. Put them in your, give them access to your teenage daughter. You do that. You do that. I don't want them breathing the same air I breathe. It has to end, because the result of this will be crime, hatred, and harm. And harm probably for the most young people in our society. This needs to stop. That's it for this one. I kind of applaud Prince William for what he said. He's disconnected. He has no idea what the hell's going on in the real world. He has no idea the kind of trash that are coming in to this country. He has no idea what the country will be like when he takes over from his father. That's it for this one. Let me know what you think. Especially let me know what you think if you support people coming in, and whether you will give them a bed or a room and access to your daughter in your perhaps leafy suburb where you live. That's it for this one. I'll speak to you again. Bye bye.